Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's morning briefing.
Late on Sunday evening, IDF forces began the demolition of the home of Ashraf Sulaiman Na'alwa, aka the Barkan terrorist. Sulaiman shot dead 2 of his co-workers in the Barkan Industrial Park on October 7th, Kim Levengon Yecheskel and Ziv Hajbi, and then he was finally caught and killed December 13th after over 2 months at large. According to the IDF, he was also reportedly planning a second attack. This comes after a week of multiple attacks and IDF response operations in the West Bank as well, including 2 drive-by shootings, a stabbing, and an attempted car ramming. 2 soldiers and a newborn baby were killed, and several others were seriously injured. On a related note, after weeks of investigation, Israeli security officials have concluded that an attack in Eilat last month between a Jordanian man and 2 Israelis was also in fact a terror attack. The Shin Bet reportedly found that the Jordanian national, who had been working in Eilat for a few days prior to the attack, was nationalistically motivated when he seriously wounded his 2 Israeli co-workers using a hammer. A second Jordanian worker was also wounded trying to stop the attack. Israeli officials have vowed harsh responses, with Prime Minister Netanyahu promising that attackers of Israel will pay with their lives. And this latest demolition also comes just a few days after the demolition of the home of Islam Abu Hamaid, who killed IDF Sergeant Ronen Lubarsky in Ramallah last May. Still, many even within the coalition are calling for more. Speaking at a protest earlier this week outside the Prime Minister's residence, Education Minister Naftali Bennett said, quote, "I call on the Prime Minister, if you make a promise, keep it," end quote. For example, Bennett explained that, quote, "We are tired of promises. The Prime Minister promised that terrorists' homes would be demolished within 48 hours, but they have yet to demolish the homes of Ari Fold's murderers and the murderers of the soldiers in Givat Asaf," end quote. Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked, Agriculture Minister Uri Ariel, Economy Minister Eli Cohen, and multiple others were also in attendance. Similarly, with an eye for heightened punishments for terrorism, a newly suggested bill that would exile and relocate the families of terrorists has just been approved by a cabinet committee. It will now go to the Knesset floor for continued discussion. According to reports, if passed, the bill would enable Israel to forcibly remove Palestinian terrorists' families from their homes and relocate them elsewhere in the West Bank. Critics, rights activists, and legal experts have all denounced the suggested legislation, but Education Minister Bennett and Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked are pushing for debate to continue nonetheless. Additionally, while punishing terrorists and their families, the Knesset Finance Committee is today scheduled to review a series of measures intending to compensate businesses, employees, and families in southern Israel near the Gaza border. One measure would calculate and compensate southern businesses for their losses in revenue caused by Hamas's terror, while another would consider adding Gaza perimeter communities to an already existing list of cities and settlements that receive compensation for indirect damages. Meanwhile, the Israeli Social Workers Union suspended all welfare services throughout the country today as part of a nationwide strike, both in protest of violence targeting welfare workers and in protest of overall poor working conditions. The social workers are calling for urgent reforms to ensure the protection of employees, higher salaries, and overall improved work environments. Currently, social service workers claim that they are overworked, underpaid, and subject to violence on a daily basis in their line of work, and the social workers are not the only group protesting either. In related news, the Yellow Vest protests seen in France have finally reached Israel too. On Friday, social protesters donned similarly iconic yellow vests and took to the streets of Tel Aviv in demonstrations against massive scheduled price increases for water, electricity, and food. All but one of Israel's 10 biggest food and household goods producers have announced an increase in prices, with Israeli brand Osem even announcing this week that it will increase prices for about a third of its products over the coming year. As for electricity prices, they're expected to rise between 6 and 8% beginning January 1st, with water prices expected to rise by at least 4.5% as well. Additionally, municipal taxes are expected to rise, and even mobile phone companies have announced intended price hikes in their monthly plans. To make matters worse, several economists, analysts, and legal experts have all studied the planned changes in taxes and pricing and concluded that price hikes are actually likely to rise by 3 to 4% more than are currently reported by the government.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.